Every clinic seems to have the answer. Laser, shockwave, electrical stimulation, PEMF, stem cells, or infrared. You walk into 5 different clinics and you'll hear 5 different devices described as the missing piece. Now each one sounds convincing. Each one comes with before and after stories. So how do you actually know who's right? Today I'm going to give you a framework. 5 questions that you can run on every neuropathy device you'll ever encounter, whether it's something a clinic recommends or something you found online at 2 in the morning. In the last video, we talked about why people usually ask the wrong question when they're evaluating treatment. Remember, the question isn't, does this work? The better question is, what biological problem is preventing this nerve from recovering? Today, we're taking the next step. Once you've identified the problem, how do you actually evaluate the tools that are in front of you? Every device, regardless of what it costs, or how it is marketed, or even who recommends it, they can be evaluated with the exact same 5 questions. I don't care whether a device costs $500 or $50,000. Every single one gets evaluated with exactly the same 5 questions. Number 1, what was this device designed to do? Number 2, what specific biological problem is it trying to influence? Number 3, is that the biggest factor limiting my recovery right now? Number 4, what can't this device do? And number 5, where does it fit into an overall treatment strategy? Now, let's apply these 5 questions to the devices patients ask us most about. And we'll start with laser therapy. Now, this is where people get confused. Someone has a great experience with laser. Another person spends thousands of dollars and notices almost nothing. Does that mean laser works for one person and not another? Maybe. Or maybe the 2 people simply had different problems limiting their recovery in the first place. We've had patients come into our office after paying for 6 sessions somewhere else, and they saw no improvement at all. Now here's what laser therapy is actually designed to do. Its primary role is supporting circulation to tissue. It's aimed at improving blood flow to tissue that's been starved of oxygen and nutrients. If reduced circulation happens to be someone's biggest limiting factor, then laser may genuinely help because it's addressing the actual constraint holding recovery back. But laser, it was not designed to fix glucose variability. It wasn't designed to resolve an autonomic nervous system problem. And it wasn't designed to rebuild balance and proprioception that's already been lost. Now, if any of those are the dominant issue, 6, 12, or 18 laser sessions may do very little, not because the device failed, but because it was never built to solve that particular problem. So now, where does laser fit? It's most often useful when circulation is genuinely a significant piece of the picture. It's used alongside other approaches addressing whatever else is limiting recovery. Next, let's talk about electrical stimulation. Electrical stimulation is built to activate nerve signaling. It sends a controlled signal through a nerve pathway to encourage normal firing. It can also support activation, muscle activation, and neuromuscular communication along the way. But here's what it cannot do. It doesn't automatically improve circulation. It doesn't stabilize glucose, and it doesn't remove whatever continues to stress the nerve. So if you think of it like this, if you improve the signal, but the nerve is still living in an unhealthy environment, eventually the progress will slow down. Not because the stimulation stopped working, but because you solved one problem while another problem still remains. So where does electrical stimulation fit? It's paired along with other things addressing metabolic and circulatory piece of the puzzle. It's hardly ever used as a standalone part of a treatment plan. Next, infrared and other circulation-based therapies. These are in the similar territory as laser. They're largely about improving circulation and oxygen delivery to nerve tissue. The limitation is the same one that we keep coming back to. Not every patient's dominant constraint is circulation. We had a woman come to us recently and she purchased laser or some light therapy. It came with red light, blue light, and green light. It was a combination device and she bought it for almost $9,000. Now, nobody had ever sat down with her beforehand to identify what her actual limiting factor was. She just assumed more colors meant better treatment. And now that's a pattern worth noticing. The purchase happened before the question was ever asked. Next, let's talk about PEMF. Pulse electromagnetic field therapy is often positioned around cellular energy production and circulation support. We've had patients come in and tell us they've been using their PEMF mats for literally months, and they honestly don't know if it's doing anything. The problem is that nobody defined what success would look like before the treatment started. So there's no way to know whether it's working. Because remember, working was never defined. So if you run the same 5 questions here that we run on everything else, that uncertainty, it starts to resolve. Now here's a scenario almost every neuropathy patient has actually lived through. Imagine 2 clinics. Clinic A, they recommend laser. Then Clinic B recommends electrical stimulation. One tells you their device is superior. The other says, no, theirs is. So who's right? The honest answer is, you don't know yet. Maybe both, maybe neither. If your biggest limitation is circulation, Clinic A's recommendation may make perfect sense. If your biggest limitation is nerve signaling, Clinic B's recommendation may make just as much sense. The question isn't who's telling the truth. The question is, who actually identified my biggest limitation before recommending a device? And finally, shockwave therapy, stem cells, and other regenerative approaches. These are generally marketed as regenerative approaches aimed at supporting tissue repair. They may have a genuine role for the right patient, but remember, they're not interchangeable with circulation therapy. They're not interchangeable with nerve stimulation, and they're not automatically the answer just because they're newer or more expensive. The same 5 questions apply here, exactly as they do everywhere else. So bring all of this together, and here's the pattern that we see constantly. Patients come in and they compare laser versus shockwave versus stem cells versus electrical stimulation. And naturally they ask, which one is better? That's usually the wrong comparison. Because better at what? Each one is built to solve a different biological problem. Asking which is objectively superior is kind of like asking whether a hammer is better than a wrench. Now that depends entirely on what you're trying to fix. So the better question every time is going to be, what biological problem is each one actually trying to solve? And is that my problem? So the next time someone or a clinic or even an advertisement or a friend who absolutely swears by something recommends a neuropathy device, don't lead with, does it work? Ask the 5 questions instead. What was this designed to do? What biological problem is it targeting? Is that the biggest factor limiting my recovery? What can't it do? And where would it actually fit into an overall plan? That's a checklist you can use for the rest of your life. on any device that comes along after this one, or any one that you see. Every year, new neuropathy devices appear. New advertisements are going to appear. New promises will be made. Those things will continue to change, but the 5 questions won't. Marketing teaches you to ask which device is the best. Biology teaches you to ask what problem this device was actually designed to solve. Because the best device isn't the one with the best marketing. It's the one that matches the problem you're actually trying to solve. Now stay tuned with us, because in the next video, we're going to look at something that almost every neuropathy patient has come across or dealt with in some way, shape, or form, and that's supplements. So stay tuned.